Now we just planted this plot right here, and there's a few things that go into timing. I will mention, I will talk about our strategy for rain and weather. I watch that like a hawk, and I'll talk about a few of those strategy tips for choosing the rain and when you think you're going to capture that rain. And it's never 100%, but we have it narrowed down pretty well in that as we're getting sprinkles right now. And we just planted, so I'll talk about that. But first I want to talk about like timing in general. To me, when we're planting in the spring, unless we're filling in for clover, we're experimenting with a clover cover crop combination, you know, for a seed blend we might sell. We're planting all our deer stuff in the fall, meaning for fall, and that would be sometime in July and August, depending on what we're planting. And that's that time where we want to get past spring fawning time. We don't want a bunch of does and fawns and an army out here. So when we're planting, when I said that yesterday on May 23rd or whatever the date is right now, May 25th, Dylan, I don't keep track of dates sometimes.
I have no idea. It is the 27th.
It's when you're busy, it's like you don't even, I don't know what number it is. I know it's Tuesday barely.
It's
so
the last day of turkey season, I know that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Should we say a prayer, or is it like
whistle taps or something?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Dylan. I like turkey hunting, but Dylan is like a turkey fiend. I mean, I go turkey hunting like 3 days a year, and Dylan goes like 30. So
I didn't go for 3 days this year.
Yeah, that's about it. But anyways, so we get this time of year, you know, May 27th, yesterday was our big buckwheat planting day. We're planting buckwheat on 14 acres to set up our fall crops. Not for a summer crop right here. For one, I don't want these deer on the property in the summer. They're all out there in the alfalfa and everywhere. We don't need to take care of them. Plus, if they're here, they're just damaging our fall plots, and there's too many of them hanging around. That is a real thing, a real concern, despite the people that sell summer stuff for you to plant saying the otherwise. But anyways, so we're putting that buckwheat down. That's part of it, you know, timing for food plots, but timing of when to plant. What's always nice is even our buckwheat, we planted on May 26th this year. I wouldn't hesitate to plant on July or June 10th. I wouldn't have hesitated to probably plant May 4th. There's a couple things with that when you're planting buckwheat in the spring. UP in Michigan, I lost an entire buckwheat crop due to snow on July 4th one year. It was probably about 2002, somewhere around there. And so that's a concern. You know, something like frost can wipe out a crop of buckwheat. So you always have to look and see, is there going to be frost? Because if there's going to be frost or a risk of frost, that is a real concern. But outside of that, brassica in a normal area, southeast here in Wisconsin, in Minnesota, southwest Wisconsin, we plant brassica early July. We're going to get a lot of those tubes and bulbs rotting before the season starts. Tillage radish, for example, has a very short maturity, and by late November, December, it's already turning white, the greens on the top. And so if that's a percentage of the mix, then that's greens that they're not eating, and that radish itself is starting to rot in December, where those purple tops and green globes are rotting more in January, February. And so it's a little bit different there. So there is a timing window, but I always look at there's 2 to 3 weeks of flexibility there. So once you assign that, you're looking at buckwheat, okay, we could plant from May 24th, 25th, depending on when we're terminating, and I don't want to go more than 8 weeks on good soil, 10 weeks on bad soil. But so you're looking at that. When am I going to plant in the summertime? And you have that window. So here I would say legitimately a 2-week window that we could look at for buckwheat. When you get into our fall crops, we like to plant target around August 1st around here. If you're somewhere southern, it could be even it could be more mid-August, say southern Ohio, West Virginia, somewhere down there. Louisiana, you could even probably be September 1st. With brassica, so you push that timing back. But even then, September 1st, you could have it October 10th, September 20th. We could do July 25th, we could do August 10th. So we have a window in there. So once you notice that window right there, then it's purely weather and rain. And how do you predict the rain? Well, I'll show, and Dylan will show some B-roll of this, what it says on AccuWeather. What I like to see is last week we were actually going to plant buckwheat on Friday, and there was no rain forecasted this week. It had rained 2 days before, So one of the trends you see in rain is typically when you have a really big rainy week, it's not followed by a rainy week. That's just a roller coaster of weather, not always, but that's the way it works sometimes. So when we saw that on Friday, we canceled our plans on Friday. We mowed clover instead. So that was perfect. Then this week we look at, all of a sudden Tuesday, there was a 60% chance on AccuWeather. Then all of a sudden, as it got a couple days later into Saturday, Sunday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we started seeing 60% on Wednesday, 80% on Tuesday, with a chance on Saturday and Sunday. And then all of a sudden it got to where it was Sunday, we're coming home from Canada from a short fishing trip weekend, and we're seeing 80% Tuesday, 91% on Wednesday, 80% Thursday, another 60% on Saturday, and the next Tuesday, Wednesday, oh, by the way, there's a 60 and an 80 thrown in. So you start looking at over a 10-day period, we're seeing 7 days of 50, 60, 70, 80% rain. Now you say, why AccuWeather? There's another one we use, ambient weather. Ambient weather, I believe, goes off of AccuWeather. They used to go off weather.com or National Weather. National Weather is different. AccuWeather is more aggressive. And so typically, Jen, she has Apple, so she watches Apple Weather, which is based on National Weather. Just breaking this down for you guys, it might be boring, but I'm into this stuff, it's fun. So when I see, for one thing, when you see the prediction models getting greater as it gets closer to your planting window, then I watch that like a hawk, because then as it's getting greater, that means the humidity levels, moisture in the air, everything's starting to change, be more favorable to rain. Again, never a guarantee, but when I see it increasing, that's a good thing. Sometimes you see it this way, where it's really big and you think, well, I'm going to plant, and then as it gets closer, it's tightening in. It means the weather's getting drier. Maybe the jet stream's moving north or south a little bit, and you really have to be wary when it does that. But what I'll say about like national weather is national weather is less risky. For example, when I see Jen's, mine says 60% on Tuesday, hers says 24. Then I see mine go to 80, hers goes to 40 or 50. So then there's times where if hers says 80, mine's being risky the other way or aggressive the other way, saying, no, there's not going to be any rain. It's 20% chance of rain. And hers is saying 80. Well, when hers says 80, it's going to rain. And on that national weather, when mine is in those higher percentages, it can throw things off a little bit. But to me, then you can watch that change greater. If mine says 24, then it's 40, then it's 60, 80, then those chances are really good, where you might not notice that as much dealing with 24s and 40% and 36% chances. I hope that makes sense. But bottom line is, I don't want to see just one day on Thursday this week a 60% chance. It's probably not going to happen, especially when it's been dry, because when it's been dry, the ground's dry, the air's dry, it takes a lot of rain to break that down. We actually had rain on our doorstep last night, even though there's nothing predicted on Monday. But it was coming from Albert Lee, then to Rochester, coming from Iowa. And you could see it was really pushing, and my AccuWeather bumped up. All of a sudden it said 80% chance for the evening, but I'm looking at this rain, and this is another component of it. When you see that rain coming, is it increasing as it gets closer to you on the radar loop, or is it decreasing? I'm not talking about prediction of radar. I'm talking about actual radar, where it shows the actual clouds and the rain coming in. You see that green in there, it's getting darker, getting some more yellows thrown in there, maybe some reds, as opposed to it starting yellows, reds, and a bunch of dark green, and then it's getting to where it's light green. Then you know it's probably going to fizzle out. So really watch that stuff. Bottom line is, when we saw that over the weekend expanding, we see 6 out of 8 days with 40 to 50%, 80% chance of rain, then that's ultimately backing up to that timing window. We want to plant when it's going to be the best benefit for the deer and wildlife. That's a given. There's varying opinions on that, but this is what I do. It's what I do for a living, to analyze food and properties and design and management. And then number two, you look at that window you have, and then when it gets to that window, I'm looking for this. And let's say my magic day was to plant August 1st. Well, if I see rain on July 25th, I'm getting those crops in. I'm doing anything I can to get them in, because if we miss that rain and now it doesn't rain until August 15th, you're going to lose half your seed. It's just going to sit there and dry out. Now, if you drill, that seed will last a little bit longer, but not everyone has a $15,000 grain drill to plant and count on. But even then, there's a window. At the same time, we get into July 25th, August 1st, August 10th, August 15th, and it's complete drought. Dylan, what do you do?
Freak out.
And that's the thing. It's kind of like, oh, and especially us owning a food plot company, we want to have pretty pictures. We want to be able to paint a story of success for you guys, really teach you how to do it right. It does happen when it gets into there. And so that's where on August 12th, I'm out there with a hellacious thunderstorm coming down in the background, because all of a sudden those spotty thunderstorms in August pop up and I'm out there. I'm not suggesting you go out there in the lightning like I've done and drive an ATV and plant or slosh around in the mud and have the rain come in through so hard that it goes through the brim of your hat. But we've done that before, because that's one option we've had. The other option is to kind of just reorganize and look at it that let's plant more grain, more layered approach. If I'm planting my brassicas a month late, I know I'm going to lose a foot to 15 inches on the backside. So maybe I'm going to stick with more quick growing tillage radishes, oats, rye. Peas come up if you get a lot of rain quickly. And then I might look at layering a month later with a heavy dose of rye, so that I can at least have a full green cover crop. And you know what, when that happens, the rain just wasn't on your side that year, then you just kind of like enjoy the process and forget about it. No one else could put their plots in around you either. You know, I hate the saying it is what it is, but you know, kind of when you don't get rain, you can't lose sleep over it. We're not doing this for a cash crop. In fact, we're in the hole every time we start a food plot. The bottom line is just readjust, pivot, and plant something that's a little bit more friendly. Going in towards around Labor Day, plan to layer on top of it and just sit back and enjoy the season and know, hey, at least we're not farmers and just lost a bunch of cash in the process. So that's kind of the food plot timing. It's why we did this last weekend, and crazy, it flipped within about a 4 or 5 day window where we were looking on Tuesday saying, okay, don't plant Friday because it's dry next week. And then by Friday, we're like, you know what, I think we're going to be planting on Sunday afternoon and Monday when we get back. And that's exactly what we did. We got 14 acres in yesterday. It was a 10.5-hour day along with everything else we did, spraying. We actually got some liquid fertilizer on clover, mowed some clover, and got a whole lot done yesterday in anticipation of this rain. So it's kind of nice to see some little sprinkles, and that's where that rain is coming from. I don't know, Dylan, if it'll show the contrast back there of how dark that is, but it's looking very promising. But today wasn't the only day. This is Tuesday. Better chance tomorrow, great chance Thursday, great chance this weekend and early next week. So part of the timing of food plots. Now we own Pure Wildlife Blends Seed Company, and we really want you to try us out. We have about 19 different offerings online. These all go back to my roots of 25 years ago and up to 30 years ago when I first started food plotting. But making these combinations, I sit at the table with our seed supplier, put all these blends together. We use pure seed with no filler, no garbage. And it's early May right now, and it's a great time to start looking at your seed. We do not run out of seed. Doesn't matter if it's switchgrass, clover, perennial blends, our fall blends, whatever it is, we don't run out. We don't want you to come at one point and then we're not here, come back in another, keep looking. We always have it on supply. Wes, our food plot seed manager, is right back there. He's shipping out daily, and really want you to check us out. Of course, we have the web classes. We go to clients every year, almost 300 a year across the country. Books. There's lots of stuff you can check out on our site, lots of free material. But I really urge you to check out purewildlifeblends.com.